Guys, welcome back to the Dubai Property Playbook, hosted by none other than Homevie. It's your girl, Chanel.
And Kyle.
And Kyle. And we're here for the August edition. So let's just go straight into it.
Sure. So every year we hear that, Dubai is empty in the summer. No one comes to Dubai in the summer. Is that actually true? How does it feel for you this year?
I'd say yeah, but no. So yeah, in the sense that like residents who live here often will travel over the summer, obviously because the kids are off school, etc. They've got 2 months off. So yeah, obviously a lot of people are going to travel back home. At the same rate that people leave is equally the same rate that people travel into Dubai, which is why I say yeah, but no.
Why is that then? Why do a lot of people traveling there? Because obviously it's super hot here.
First and foremost, a lot of people just want to travel on a budget and they know that Dubai is obviously going to be cheaper because they know that it's obviously hot. So they're trying to attract people, prices are low. Secondly, I think that a lot of like relocation tends to happen over the summer. So I'm thinking about teachers, where like term starts or where work tends to start later on in the year, Q3 going into Q4. And then also I think that a lot of other GCC countries, so your Qatars, your Saudis, I don't want to say the wrong thing here, but Dubai has everything.
Yeah.
So in terms of things that you can do indoors, I'd say that there's more options here than there possibly is in like their home countries, right? So we see a lot of GCC families coming over and we see that time and time again, year in, year out. And then also a lot of residents who do choose to stay over the summer, they're engaging in a lot of staycations. And I think the new trend, I don't want to say it's a trend, but more and more people are opting for Airbnb stays than they are over your hotels.
Yeah.
Especially if you are like a family, like when we travel, for example, like it's more comfortable in an Airbnb because we've got a kitchen, we've got, bedroom, living room, rather than being cooped up into one room. And then in a hotel, by the time you book a suite, you're already looking at the price for a full apartment on Airbnb.
For sure, absolutely. And obviously a suite in a hotel typically is even more expensive, right?
Exactly.
For what you get. I think also properties that suit relocation, what you was talking about earlier, very beneficial even in the low season.
Yeah.
Or when I guess seasonality hits for, owners that have those type of properties that are maybe like a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom or small, medium-sized villa even, suits those type of guests that are coming. They want to check into an Airbnb while they sort their residency, do all of that stuff before they settle down into their, I guess, more stable place. Obviously, they get good rates, but also, as an owner, you also attract good revenue, which is typically what we're seeing is higher than what our projected amount is. And this happens year after year, which is also good.
I think we do tend to see over this time of year as well that our lead time to bookings is usually the same, but the length of stay tends to be longer. And like as much as, people say that Dubai is hot, the reality is business is still conducting even over the summer. So
for sure,
while some places might be closed for the summer, businesses, offices, they're still open. So a lot of people are still transacting, there's still business travel. So those types of apartments, as you say, like smaller villas, maybe larger 1-beds going into 2-beds, especially where there is a specific work setup. Those tend to do really well, especially apartments that are in walkable neighborhoods, communities. And I say walkable, not that they would walk outside during the summer, but those types of communities tend to have, coffee shops nearby, gyms. They tend to be more mature in the sense that your average traveler would want to be out and about and have all of the amenities nearby. So I'd say summer is here, and as much as people will say Dubai is hot, Dubai is empty, the landscape changes slightly, but it is still very busy.
Yeah, very busy. And I had one of our owners reach out to ask the question before the low season. This is his first year with us. We set the projections, and now speaking with him yesterday, funny enough, and just going back based on the projections and how we've outperformed those projections. And I was explaining to him why we give the projections fairly conservative, just to make sure that they're comfortable with what they're getting into, especially as a first time person entering the short-term rental market. And then it's always nice when you exceed those projections based on, what we were able to curate for them from the furnishing and the design, create some USPs in the apartment so that we know your apartment has something that 90% of the other apartments on the market don't have, and it's going to attract people that want to stay there for a significant period of time, or at least revisit the apartment.
I think there's no kind of doubt to it that revenue is lower in the summer, but even with that in mind, we are still operating at the top end of what we would expect to be at during this time period, because, you know, we've been in the game, we know what to do, we know how to optimize our portfolio, our pricing, such that our owners are able to get the best out of this type of season.
Yeah, and we're regularly, obviously, I speak about this all the time, but we're regularly matching our pricing and reviewing what the market is doing, making sure that we're at the top end of that from a occupancy and a nightly rate ADR perspective as well. So being aligned and seeing what the market is doing, and then seeing how we're able to outperform, especially in certain key areas, certain key buildings, really, really niching down to, you know, specific locations, let's just put it. It's really nice, obviously, to see that we are operating and exceeding what the market's doing as well at the same time.
I have one thing though. So there's one particular area that we operate in, right? I don't know, maybe we can bleep it out if we don't want it in, but our mag villas. I feel as though that those villas never experience any seasonality. Like they are fully booked round the clock, year in, year out. Like our villas are booked up until like September, which is kind of unheard of in Dubai. Why do you think that is?
It's because of the size and the furnishing and the USPs that I speak about, right? So if you're a family, typically you want a villa. Why do you want a villa? Because maybe you're coming with kids. One of them I know is pet friendly, so it has almost like a dedicated space for your pet. So those USPs really sell. Obviously, it's easy to put a workspace in an apartment, or, you know, put a games console, but when you tie a lot of these things in, it almost becomes a no-brainer. So when people
intentionality, isn't it?
Exactly, it's the intentionality that we always speak of, and when people are looking for an apartment, it just makes so much sense for them. So that's why we're finding that we're always booked, and then they go and they see the reviews. Look, we always have guests that will send messages, oh, you've responded so quick, that gives me so much confidence, I want to book with you guys, and then they go ahead and fulfill their booking. So it's a whole package as to why they're completely always occupied. But the fact of the size of them, the number of bedrooms that they hold, the maid's room, the USPs that are added across, and there's obviously a different range, they're not all the same. They speak to a particular type of guest, which helps them to be,
and I think given those profiles that I mentioned earlier, the expats for relocation, GCC families, locals looking for staycations, the type of makeup of those type of people who would be coming over to Dubai prefer almost the bigger space, the villa-esque type, right? Because we know our GCC families, our local families are quite big. They travel with their children, they travel with staff, and then our families relocating. They obviously don't want to be cooped up in a 2-bedroom apartment if they've come from a house or something of a similar sort to Dubai. And I know the term villa sounds very grand and very mansion-esque, but it's basically a house, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they might label them villas in Dubai, but you have townhouse, you have houses, and you have small villas, and you have big villas, right? There's even a 3 or 4 bedroom villa can be still significant in its size, but also can be quite small as well. And I'm talking 4,000, 5,000 square foot 2-bedroom with maid's room versus 1,600 2-bedroom with maid's room. There's a massive difference. So yeah, it just depends on what someone wants and what we're able to speak to for them.
So I know you mentioned speaking to like one of the owners, and that's something that our owners love to do. They love to just have chats with you and just see how their properties are doing. And I think the great thing about the partners that we have on board who trust us, they have a real understanding that revenue is not always profit, or doesn't mean profit. Right? And I think there's that misconception out there because, for example, a guest pays, let's just say 16,000 dirhams for a stay. An owner who is probably, you know, uneducated, doesn't know much about the industry, or has probably been fed misinformation, which we see quite often, they think that 16K is what lands in their bank account and that's what they get to keep, which is obviously, you know, it's not the truth. Let's just break down the kind of things that form part of, you know, running and managing someone's property. And what the kind of final amount is that lands in an owner's.
Yeah. Well, before I even do that, right?
Go on.
Let's just put it out there. That number that you keep on seeing on Airbnb, on those Instagram ads, is not the number and the revenue that lands in your pocket.
For sure.
And it's important that you have that understanding. And anybody who's been investing will know it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep.
100%.
So you need to be looking always at that bottom line number to understand how much of this actually makes sense for my investment strategy. So that's why we look at the investment strategy, the risk appetite of the particular owner. We try to understand them before we get into a partnership. Being super clear, being super transparent with them helps those relationships that I have with our owners, obviously. But not only that, it just helps to keep them informed. They feel much more confident, right? Because an agent, when selling a property, will tell you one thing.
This is what I was going to
Will
say.
give you inflated ROI numbers, will give you inflated yield numbers. They will typically miss out things like your service charges, your DLD fees, if you're going down the short-term rental route, what your fixtures and furnishing costs are going to be,
Management
what's the
fees,
life cycle of those furnishings,
yeah.
what's the management fee. There's so much that goes into bringing that number. So that 20% is not going to be the net amount.
Yeah.
Very rarely, right?
And I think we've seen such crazy cases where like an owner's come to us on handover and said, the agent that sold me this property promised me that, I'd get 250K on short term. And we're like, your apartment's in JVC or something crazy like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we're like, there's no way that your 1-bedroom apartment is going to net that. And it's obviously because they see that 250 figure, albeit not in that specific scenario, but that's a gross amount and not actually what lands into your bank account. And I think there needs to be an overhaul in the industry in how we, speak to owners, because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, we do our best, right? But we try and put the pressure on the market actually to be more transparent, be more honest, because that's how you win long term. And that's what we're here for. I literally was speaking to somebody about their property and asking how much do they know about their property. But this particular person was getting a good amount last year, right? And it was way too much for what a typical building in that location would generate.
Okay.
Now, this person didn't care about what was happening inside of the property.
They just wanted the
But
money.
I knew
Something
something is off,
Right.
right? Nobody just pays 40, 50% more than what the rest of the market for that particular building. And it was a 1-bedroom in, let's say, 5-10 minutes drive from JBR.
Okay.
And it was going for 120,000 dirhams
1 bedroom.
for 1 year. Yeah, exactly. A 1-bedroom. And if anybody knows the type of locations, I cannot say to them, give us the property and we'll put it on short term and we're going to make you double, which is what she wanted to hear. I said to her,
240.
that's what she wanted to hear. Yeah, that's what she was expecting going down short term. But I think what had obviously happened in that case is somebody was obviously maybe sub-renting, maybe had created partition. We know how the buyer is, right? We're just going to talk the reality of what happens. Whether people hide it, we know what happens.
Yeah.
People take apartments, turn them into partitions, charge over the odds for people to stay there because what's out there is limited. And, they don't really care if they're giving you 120 for the 1 year. They know how much that they're going to make off the back
Actually,
of
I think I remember this. And if I remember correctly, the area is quite old. So building...
Old building,
Old building.
I say old, right? It's the buy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But more than 5-6 years old.
Okay.
In an area that's known for
Partition.
partitions, right? So this person was overseas anyway.
Ah.
Never mind, it is what it is, right? But from our perspective, the point that I'm making is we would never overinflate just to bring your property on board. What we do is be honest. So my honest opinion was to her, if understanding what's happening with your property is not important and you just care what lands in your pocket, although you may know that maybe something that's not completely above board is happening, just try to renew as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but also we wouldn't put our name on that.
We wouldn't.
And we've lost a lot of clients or potential clients because, they've said, oh, your projection is much lower than X company.
Yeah, you say we lost, but we've had those cases, right, where we be honest, upfront, transparent. And what ends up happening is they come back to us after a specific period of time and say, I wish I just listened to you in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to hear, but also I'm trying to prevent that as much as possible. I don't want people to, you know, a smart person learns from someone else's mistakes rather than having to go through make the mistakes themselves, right? So that's what the education piece is about. As much as I can try and educate, try and help, we are a short-term rental company. We make our money from short-term rental.
Yeah, that's
I feel
our
like
bread and
I
butter,
completely
right?
say this over and over, right? So even when it comes to furnishing and design, right? What typically happens is someone wants to furnish their property. They go out and they find a furnishing company. The furnishing is then done not to short-term rental standards. There's no USPs. Everything is just picked up or selected online, delivered to the apartment. They unbox, they unpack, and then that's it. We've had cases before where an owner has done similar things, or multiple, should I even say, and we have to then make suggestions. They end up spending on top of the furniture package that they've already bought, right?
Yeah.
So these are things that we try to educate on before the pitfalls happen. So please, guys, don't make the mistakes. Just learn from us. We want to see you win. At the end of the day, if you're even with another property management company, short-term rental company, and you're winning, then it's perfect.
Yeah. On a very high level, okay, you've got your gross figure. Okay. Walk me through at a high level what comes out of that gross figure in order to get to the net. Because it's not as easy as just, you know, here's your gross, you pay your bills, here's your net. That's not how it works. And I think, again, if we're trying to reshape the industry and share the good information, what does that look like?
Well, because off the top of my head, right, you've got your revenue at the top line, right? So from a short-term perspective, right, you've got your revenue at the top line, how much guests pay.
Yeah.
Then you've got your channel fees.
Okay.
You've got this is Airbnb, Booking.com. They will have to take a portion for facilitating that transaction between guest and company.
And I just want to say that I think a lot of owners are under the impression that advertising on Airbnb is free.
Yeah.
Like Airbnb, Booking.com, they bring the credibility that we could never bring because Airbnb is like such a global household name.
Yeah.
Right? No one's going to search HomeV if they've never heard of us before, but they know Uber, they know Airbnb goes hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. So you have your top line.
Fees,
you have your top line revenue, what the guests pay. You have your amount that they have to take, as in the channels.
Okay.
Then you have the gross amount. You have VAT that still needs to go out. You have
tourism tax
that needs to be remitted. You have expenses, which is your DWA, your internet, your chiller fees. Then you have your management commission, which you agree with your management company. You have your service charges, which are due quarterly based on the square footage of your apartment. You've got cleaning fees, which are paid by the guest typically, so not something to be too concerned about. You've got maintenance fees. How much should you factor in over the course of a year of maintenance costs that's going to go out?
Especially things like proactive maintenance as well, right? So like ACs, water pumps, water heaters, which we always see.
Well, if you have a good company, you'll have proactive maintenance happening, which will bring that average cost down for the year. But if not, and it's on a more reactive basis, you obviously then have to pay the premium to get something fixed in a shorter space of time, right? To protect the reputation of your property at the end of the day. So yeah, when we talk about how much you keep, it's only once all of these are deducted. So the way that we operate is we look at the bottom number. What is it that we know after all of these expenses and deductions that we can generate for you? And we share that with you and say, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Right? Which is typically a conservative number. We typically do outperform it. But the point is, you know, from day one, okay, this is how much I'm going to keep.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the main thing.
And that doesn't even include furnishing. So for example, if like an owner has perhaps taken out a furniture package where they're paying it out of the future revenue.
Installments,
and installments. So that could be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 dirhams, depending obviously how big the property is. That's taken out every month to pay for your furnishing. So that's not even like included. So yeah, it's as much as Airbnb can be very fruitful, I think owners need to go in with like perfect information, knowing what they're walking into, because it's not just, okay, Airbnb says 16K, so I'm going to get 16K.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
So the next time you see that Instagram ad with 250,000 in the last 2 months or last month, just remember the HomeV ROI investment calculator. Go on our website, put the details for your property in. More details that you provide, the better. We'll give you the breakdown of all the numbers that I've just spoken about and help you be informed. And if you want, just pick up the phone, drop us a message, and I'll be more than happy to go in more detail with you guys, because I want to save you at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing as well is that, like, as much as obviously we want to like expand our portfolio and you know, have new partners, I think the one thing that a lot of people have kind of like praised us for is that the time that we take to speak to them, even if it doesn't, you know, leads to a signed agreement and we manage their property, they really do appreciate the time that we take on the phone with them. And if short-term rental isn't best for them, we will say, go and sign that long-term lease, because that's really where you're going to make your money.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
So that's a big mistake that property owners make, right?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of them, obviously, we've spoken about the furnishing, we've spoken about the, you know, purchasing an investment with the wrong figures in mind up front. A lot of people also purchase very emotionally.
Yeah.
And they furnish also very emotionally.
And they continue to just be super emotional about their property. And we often see that with first-time investors.
Right, yes. And I mention again, try to learn from the mistakes of others before you make them yourself. Removing emotion from any investment is always going to be more beneficial. You can think with logic, think with data, with numbers, and let that work for you.
Just on the furnishing, sorry, I do want to kind of like just expand on that, because I think a lot of first-time property investors will obviously want to furnish themselves because it's exciting, you know, it's a really monumental time in your life, your first investment property, and quite often they will furnish as if they were going to live in the property. So the furniture pieces they buy might be on the more expensive end, not considering that, you know, guests will come into your property, and as much as we will vet the guests as much as possible, the reality is not all guests are going to treat your home like how you would treat it.
Yeah, this is just the reality.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one end of the spectrum. And then you've got the other end where, you know, investors are very much, oh yeah, it's just an investment property, so I'm just going to get like a furnishing company to do all of the furnishing. And, you know, furnishing companies, I think, offer great convenience. But when it comes to intentionality, you know, hand-picking pieces that work for the demographic, the profile of guests that you're looking for, it's not always a win-win. Because yeah, you can pay them 35k or 45k for a furnishing package, but how they operate is on bulk, right? So they'll get the same sofa at a much at a heavily discounted rate because they've purchased 50 of the exact same sofa. And then that sofa appears in every
different listings.
in every other Airbnb listing, and you're like, yeah, I know that sofa. That sofa's from Home Centre.
For example.
For example, right? And it just doesn't give any like personality. It doesn't give that feeling of, oh, I need to stay at that Airbnb, because it just looks like every other property on the market. So as much as they can offer you the convenience, I think where possible, try to have a company or at least a designer who can really create a space based on your specific apartment, rather than drag and drop. Add this to the basket and then just figure it out and hope it works.
Yeah, for sure. Furnishing, just really quickly, let's touch on the most recent experience that we've had. I mean, we've had it before many times, but let's just speak on it because it's popped up again, and as much as we try to speak about it. But, you know, going out to find vendors that will create pieces that look amazing, that you've managed to, you know, see on Pinterest, ChatGPT, your image mock-ups of your apartment, and then you give it to someone and trust that they're going to bring it to life because they say, yeah, we've done this so many times, and they show you what it looks like in the showroom, an example of their best work ever created. But when it reaches your apartment, expectation and
versus reality is so different. Yeah, so
let's talk to that.
I think owners tend to want to find their own vendors. One, because maybe there's like some trust issues, so they'd rather just kind of handle everything themselves, or maybe they think that they can find a better deal themselves, right? Not realizing that obviously we've been doing this for some time and we've built relationships with good vendors who we can rely on, who deliver the quality that we know we can put our name on. So, you know, Dragon Mart, love-hate relationship. You go to Dragon Mart, you just find this random supplier, GB 0 whatever. Apologies if that's your shop number. Right? But you go to the shop, yeah, we can do this, no problem. And they show you like 50 different pictures of all of the work that they've done. But their biggest thing is they'll show you the picture standing on the other side of the wall.
You can't see the
So
details.
you can't see the details. You can't see the small imperfections, right? And then you deal with the sales guy, who then obviously has another guy in a different factory in Sharjah or Ajman. And he's just sending over random measurements, hoping that it sticks. Then a random guy messages you and says, oh yeah, delivery. This particular company or owner got a stone from one shop, arranged for the stone to be delivered to the joinery people. In the end, it was like 2 or 3 different shops, 2 or 3 different vendors, and it took 2 months for them to deliver.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing stopping us from putting the apartment online, because the pieces that he had ordered were the big anchor pieces of the apartment. So obviously we've not seen them, we don't know the colours, and a picture of a colour
around.
Can't style around something you've not seen, because a brown can be a cool tone, or it can be a warm tone, it can be a dark tone. So there's so many different variabilities, and then you don't want to...
Wow, variability.
Sorry, variations.
Yes.
You can tell I'm passionate. There's so many different variations, you don't want to choose the wrong colour. Anyway, stuff gets delivered, chips, cracks, you can see the nails, like they've not even cleaned it.
The wrong hooks.
It's the wrong hooks, the wrong feet, the wrong colour, the wrong measurements. You take the tape measure, it doesn't fit. And all of that for substandard work, which I already knew was going to happen.
Of course we know.
But obviously the owner has, he's gone out to find the vendor. And as much as we say, just trust us, please. We know what we're doing. Some owners just kind of want to do it themselves. And that's fine if it works out. But a lot of the time, sadly, it doesn't work out. And now, this owner wants a full refund. He's going to have to open a case with the DLD. And it's just a long palaver that really could have just been avoided in the first place. But obviously, you don't know what you don't know. So from the owner's side, his intention was good. Just sadly, the execution wasn't there.
Yeah, but it's great. He's traveled back. He's seen, obviously, we gave our impressions. You done your thing. He's seen exactly why, we wanted to hold up so he can see it and make the claims to get some sort of compensation, get his money back, or at least try to. But stuff needs to be fixed. But I guess that kind of transparency, that hand holding that we do is what sets us apart. And talking of setting us apart, I mean, I think there's some congratulations in order, right? Let's talk about... How do you feel like, we 3 years ago, we up and left the UK, took our family over here with the idea to start this thing, start Humvee. And now we've just been obviously recognized for one of the biggest awards in the space in Dubai. Let's talk about that. Pretty surreal moment, maybe.
Kind of unreal, and it probably hasn't really hit home, because obviously I've seen the Instagram posts and I've obviously read the emails saying, oh, congratulations. But it doesn't feel, because there's nothing tangible to hold. Like, you don't have that award. We've not been to the gala. We've not gone to the ceremony. So it still just feels a little bit like, oh, okay. But credit where credit is due, isn't it? 3 years ago, we didn't even think that this, not that it could be possible, because we dabbled in this type of stuff in the UK, but you just never thought that you'd be recognized on a public platform. Against like heavyweights in the industry who have been doing this for much longer with a much larger portfolio. So I think to be able to say that, we've done this, built it from the ground up, and we had no idea what the industry was like. We had no idea what it was like to be in Dubai, and to think that we've been here for 3 years already. It's crazy.
And so, it's the best short-term rental company in Dubai. But outside of that, because we never call ourselves a property management or short-term rental company, right? Let's talk about, what it actually means. And obviously we have a massive team, obviously, that help us.
They're watching us right now, by the way. And they know if anybody speaks, they'll be in big trouble.
No, but let's talk about it, because it's not easy, right? There's a lot of hard work that goes in day to day. There's a lot of aligning across the different teams, a lot of growth that's happened from back-end platforms to how we manage maintenance, how we manage cleaning, SOPs, how those have grown from, having Fatima go and just do all of the QAs initially to now having a food process for everything now. But Mahmood's come on board, everyone that's a part of the journey, like all of the hard work that they've put in. Let's just talk about how it feels to like have a team that buy in so much to what it is that we do. They understand the vision and everything.
So I think obviously when we put together HomeV, it was just me, UK, me. And it was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like leaving school to go on like property visits and like go and take measurements. And I was pregnant at the time. It was crazy, crazy scenes. And then you have like one member of staff. And then you have two. Then you're like, oh, we need a driver. Oh, we spend too much money on maintenance. We need to have like our own internal maintenance person. And then like the team starts slowly growing. And I think not once the team, but I feel like when you're so passionate about your day-to-day and what you do, it becomes infectious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And where we would be up at 2:00 in the morning trying to deal with a water heater issue because the pump is not working.
Yeah.
Not that we expect others to do the same, but because of how we are and how we approach things, and we go for this, you know, guests are so important, we need to always give 5-star experiences. It's almost like the team have embodied the same type of passion.
They literally.
Right? And as much as we'll be up at 2 a.m., Fatima's up at 2 a.m. ringing maintenance. Mahmoud's still sleeping, right? But he'll see the message in the morning and he'll be like, oh yeah, this is what you do,
But
like,
it's because we take it personally for a reason. We care about our guests for a reason. That's hospitality, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the time is. If there's an issue, we feel the issue. So someone knows they're going to deal with it in the morning. They feel the issue. Like, I need to deal with this now.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's never been told that this is the expectation. You must do this, but we're up dealing with it if we need to. Someone else is up dealing with it on another night if they need to.
Yeah.
And obviously we have customer support who's up obviously with 24/7, just, you know, escalating as needed, but everybody comes together and everyone coming together is what's brought us to achieving this.
Yeah.
Obviously having this monumental moment, achieving this award, which is an award that you can't even nominate for, like you can't even get people to vote for us. Sorry.
It's a completely independent decision by their board.
Exactly, which makes it even a little bit more sweeter, right? Because we know the hard work, we know the hours that go into it. Obviously all the partners along the way, some that have come and gone, but
still hold us in high regard because some
every
things have
single
just
time.
changed for them, and that's okay. But yeah, I think as much as this award is like, you know, a pat on the back to us, I think it's something that the whole team should bask in because it's equally theirs as well.
And it wasn't just yesterday, a couple of days ago, you were looking at a first guest that stayed in our first unit, telling you the name of her, and like even those first 5-star reviews. Remember the feeling. Remember the feeling of the first 1-star review that we got, how much that hit us and how we took that so personally.
I even remember that one liner that she gave us about like, oh, this apartment in healthcare city, it's like, it feels like a hospital, all of this stuff. She was proper slating.
Yeah, we literally like.
But yeah, I felt that one. I felt that one.
For sure. All right, cool.
But yeah, by the way, guys, the whole team is right there. So because this is going to go live for the whole world to see on YouTube, and I'm like, you're seeing our videographers going to take a video of this, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to our Dubai team, our remote team based in Nigeria, for all of the efforts and hard work that you put in, because HomeV is not HomeV without you.
HomeV Score's been underway for like 2 months now. It's doing incredible.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been our tool that we've been using, obviously.
To scan our listings.
Of course, to scan all of our Airbnb listings, making sure that they're super optimized. We're just about to launch for the other platforms as well, which is going to be amazing. Obviously, owners are using it. Yeah, owners that don't host with us using it, seeing where the pitfalls are. And it's great when we speak to them, we give them the advice. They see the advice on the report anyway, and then they reach out to say, oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Like, it helps my property manager. It's boosted our revenue, boosted our bookings immediately. So that's obviously been amazing, right? Yeah, that alongside all of the other good techie things that we've been working on. Yeah, can't wait to speak more about those. More to come on hopefully in the next edition, right? Yeah. So do you want to close? So thank you so much for tuning in to this month's edition. Let me catch you in the next one. Bye. Peace.